The beer splashed across her shirt. The Navy SEAL laughed loud. Careless. Dangerous. He had no idea he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life. Because the quiet woman sitting alone at the bar, she wasn't just a tired nurse. She was Sable Three, the deadliest operator the Pentagon erased from existence. Officially listed KIA. 10 years ago, when his hand grabbed her wrist, he felt the scar an old bullet wound. And in that instant, everything changed. What happens in the next 17 seconds would go viral across the world. And if you've ever been underestimated, you need to see what comes next. Before we begin, tell us where are you watching from, and if you believe honor and courage still matter, help keep their legacy alive. The beer slipped from his hand and splashed across her gray shirt. The man laughed, one of those loud, careless laughs that draw attention. He had no idea he just made the biggest mistake of his life. Because the quiet woman sitting alone at the end of the bar, she wasn't just a nurse. She was the last survivor of a mission so classified the Pentagon erased it from history. Her name Tessa Calloway, codenamed Sable Three, officially declared KIA 10 years ago. "Hey, sweetheart," the man said, leaning closer. "You look like you lost a fight with a drink." His buddies laughed, pounding the table. They were off-duty Navy SEALs, loud, half-drunk, too full of themselves to notice danger. Tessa set her glass down slowly. "Don't worry," she said softly. "I've lost worse." Her voice was calm, almost too calm. The man Cruz Monroe grinned. "Worse than this dive? Doubt it." He raised his beer. "To Dust Haven 2015 gone. But not forgotten." The room went quiet for a second. Tessa froze. Her glass slipped slightly against her palm. Her eyes flicked toward him. Cruz noticed. "What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." She stared right back. "Not a ghost," she said. "You're just talking about me." Every sound in the room died. Even the jukebox seemed to hold its breath. Someone muttered. "What did she just say?" Cruz frowned, half amused, half annoyed. Dust Haven was classified. He said, "You weren't there." She smiled faintly. "You're right. I wasn't there. I was buried there." The table erupted with nervous laughter. "Lady, that's dark," one of them said. But Tessa didn't blink. Commander Pike, sitting 2 stools down, stopped mid-sip. He'd heard that name before Sable Three. He turned slowly, watching. Cruz leaned forward, smirking. "You sure you know what you're talking about?" "I know exactly," she said. 6 operators went in. Only 1 walked out. "You expect me to believe that's you," Cruz said. She took a sip of water. "I don't expect you to believe anything. You're still drunk enough to feel safe." He slammed his bottle down. "Say that again." She didn't. She just moved. In one motion, she caught his wrist, twisted, and pressed his hand flat against the bar. The move was surgical, efficient. Before he realized it, she disarmed the knife from his pocket and set it neatly beside his beer. The room froze. Cruz winced. "You trying to break my arm?" "No," she said. "If I was, you wouldn't be asking." Someone whispered. Holy hell, even the bartender, a retired ranger, stopped cleaning glasses. He slid a Glock 19 across the counter. "Prove it," he said. Tessa didn't argue. Her hands moved with ghost-like precision, field stripping, cleaning, reassembling. 15 seconds. No hesitation. No wasted motion. Cruz stared, dumbfounded. Pike muttered, 15.2 seconds. "You haven't slowed down." Tessa met his eyes, voice steady. "Didn't plan to." Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, one encrypted code word, reactivation. Her expression changed. The ghost was awake again. She slid the phone into her pocket. "Excuse me," she said. "Standing up," Cruz called after her. "You running away?" She turned at the door. "No," she said. "I'm answering a call." The door swung shut behind her, leaving silence in her wake. Pike pulled out his own phone. He opened a message already waiting. Sable Three sighted. "Activate contact protocol." His jaw tightened. "So it's true," he whispered. "She's still alive. Outside." The rain had started. Tessa walked across the parking lot, her reflection rippling in every puddle. She stopped under a flickering streetlight and called the number that had ended her peace. Calloway, a man's voice said on the line. She recognized it instantly. Admiral Whitaker. Long time, she said quietly. What do you need? Zahir and his sister were taken, he said. Hostage situation. Public execution in 72 hours. Her voice hardened. He's just a teacher now, and the reason they want him dead. Whitaker said, You're the only one who can get him out. Tessa closed her eyes. Rain drummed on the hood of her jacket. Who else knows? She asked. Just me, he said. And Pike. He's already on site. She exhaled. Of course he is. Are you in? Whitaker asked. Lightning cracked overhead. For a long moment, she didn't speak. Then send the coordinates. Copy that, Whitaker said. Welcome back. Sable 3. The line went dead. She stood there, soaked, her breath visible in the cold. A car sped past, headlights cutting through the storm. Her reflection flashed in the puddle, older, harder, but alive. She whispered to herself, 17 seconds. That's all I'll need. Then she walked toward the highway, disappearing into the dark. The next time anyone would hear that name, Sable 3, it would already be too late. And if you've ever believed that ghosts can't come back, stay tuned. Because what happens next will change everything you think you know about heroes. The next morning, the hangar lights buzzed to life, one by one. Tessa Calloway stood at the edge of the runway, rain still clinging to her jacket. She hadn't been here in 10 years, yet everything smelled the same: oil, steel, and ghosts. Commander Pike walked toward her, coffee in hand. You didn't even try to say no this time, he said. I did, she replied. Just didn't mean it. He smirked. Same old Calloway. She looked past him to the C-130 waiting on the tarmac. Who else is coming? Pike nodded toward the hangar door. Ellington entered first, sleeves rolled up, calm and professional. Right behind her, Cruz Monroe, wrists still wrapped from the bar. Tessa almost laughed. You're kidding, Pike shrugged. He requested reassignment, said he wanted to learn from the best. Cruz grinned awkwardly. And, maybe apologize for that thing at the bar. Tessa raised an eyebrow. Which part, the drink? Or the attitude? Both, he said. Pike chuckled. Let's just hope he's better with a rifle than with words. The team gathered around a table covered with satellite images. Whitaker's face appeared on the monitor, grizzled, exhausted, yet sharp as ever. Morning, Sable Team, he began. We've confirmed the hostages are being held here, North Ridge, Afghanistan border. 14 civilians, one of them Zahir Rahman. Ellington zoomed in on the coordinates. Perimeter guards rotating every 90 minutes. Anti-aircraft set up on the West Ridge. Whoever's running this knows what they're doing. Whitaker nodded. That's why you're there. Tessa studied the map. This layout looks familiar. Similar to Dust Haven's outer grid. Cruz frowned. You mean the one where everyone died? The room went quiet. Tessa's eyes didn't move from the screen. That's the one. Whitaker cleared his throat. You launch at 0400. No support. No extraction until confirmation of hostages. Understood. Understood, Pike said. The screen went dark. No one spoke for a long time. Ellington finally broke the silence. You really think we can pull this off? Tessa smiled faintly. We've done worse with less. Hours later, the C-130 roared down the runway. Inside, the team sat shoulder to shoulder, quiet except for the hum of engines. Each face told its own story: fear, focus, faith. Tessa checked her gear, methodical as ever. Her rifle gleamed under the red cabin light. It wasn't just a weapon, it was memory, history, redemption. Cruz leaned across the aisle. So, Sable 3, huh? What's that mean? She didn't look up. It means I came back when no one else did. He nodded slowly, realizing this was no legend, it was truth. Ellington watched the exchange, then tapped her tablet. Calloway, you might want to see this. On the screen, a blinking red dot. GPS ping, inside the aircraft. Not ours. Pike stood immediately. A tracker. Ellington's tone sharpened. Looks like it. And it's active. Tessa scanned the cabin, eyes cutting through every piece of gear. Her hand stopped at Cruz's vest. What the hell, he said, as she pulled something from his pocket. A tiny silver disc blinked red. Somebody planted this on you, Tessa said. Before we even left. Pike cursed. We've been burned. Ellington grabbed her comms. Signals transmitting northbound straight toward the compound. Tessa crushed the tracker under her boot. Comms blackout. Right now. The cabin lights dimmed instantly. Everyone strap in, Pike ordered. We're going dark, Cruz muttered. You think someone set us up? Tessa didn't answer, but her silence said everything. She'd seen this before, back when her entire team was betrayed at Dusthaven. The C-130 dove low, weaving through the storm clouds. Turbulence rattled the cabin, gear shifting in the racks. Lightning flashed across the hull, painting their faces ghost white. Ellington adjusted the map overlay. New drop point, 5 clicks south of target. Terrain's bad, but it'll hide us. Pike nodded. Good. We adapt. Cruz glanced at Tessa. So what's the plan now? She stared at the black void outside the window. Same as always, she said. We make noise where it hurts. The plane jolted as the pilot's voice came through the intercom. 2 minutes everyone stood, checked weapons, tightened straps. Tessa touched the edge of her dog tag, the one she never wore in public. On the back, scratched by hand, were 3 words, 17 seconds alive. She whispered them like a prayer. Cruz leaned close. 17 seconds. She met his eyes. That's how long it took to lose everyone last time, and how long it'll take to make it right. The ramp lowered. Wind screamed through the cabin, flooding it with cold air and red light. Below them, the valley opened wide, a maze of shadows and firelight. Pike called out, "Green light!" Tessa's boots hit the dirt first, then Ellington, then Cruz. They moved fast, melting into the dark. The storm hid their descent, rain disguising every step. Above them, the C-130 vanished into cloud. For the first time in 10 years, Sable Three was back on the ground. And if you think she came here to survive, you're wrong. She came to finish what was started. Stay with me, because in exactly 17 seconds, everything she ever lost is about to return. The valley was silent, too silent. Every breath from the team fogged in the cold night air. Tessa crouched behind a jagged rock, her rifle steady, her eyes on the compound below. Through her scope, she counted the guards, 1 on the tower, 2 near the gate, 1 patrolling the wall, all armed, all relaxed. They had no idea what was coming. Ellington whispered over comms, "Hostages confirmed, southeast corner, 14 total." Pike's voice followed, calm and deep. "Copy. Sable 3, you have lead." Tessa exhaled slowly. "Then we do this clean." Cruz checked his watch. "What's the timing?" Tessa answered, eyes still on the target. 17 seconds. Cruz frowned. "What happens after 17? She chambered around, gaze fixed. They stopped breathing. The words landed like a trigger pull. 17, 16, she whispered. The numbers came slow, deliberate, every second slicing through the tension. 3, 2, 1. The first shot cracked through the valley like thunder. The tower guard dropped. Then another. By the 5th shot, panic exploded inside the compound. "Move," Tessa ordered. The team advanced downhill, swift and silent under the rain. Their boots kicked up mud, their breaths syncopated with gunfire. Ellington took the east wall. Pike and Cruz breached the gate. Tessa flanked left, cutting through the first wave of defenders. Each movement was muscle memory clean, controlled, lethal. A guard ran out screaming, firing blind. Tessa dropped him before the second bullet left his chamber. Cruz muttered, "Remind me never to piss her off again." "Focus." "Monroe," Pike barked. "We're not home yet." "They split at the courtyard," Ellington shouted. Basement entry found Tessa led the descent stairwell narrow, air heavy with dust. The walls were lined with wires and old generators. Somewhere below, a child cried softly. "Visual on hostages," Ellington said. Tessa pushed the door open. 14 people huddled together, eyes wide with fear. "Zahir," she called quietly. A man stepped forward, bruised but alive. "Tessa," he whispered. "It's really you." She cut his restraints. "We don't have time." Pike's voice came through the comm. "Enemy reinforcements inbound. 30 seconds. Cruz planted a charge at the far wall. Alternate exit ready." Then everything changed. A shriek of metal outside, followed by a deep roar. RPG Ellington yelled. The explosion ripped through the corridor. Dust and debris filled the air, throwing bodies across the room. When the smoke cleared, Pike was on the ground, bleeding heavily. Tessa slid beside him, pressing gauze to the wound. He tried to laugh, but coughed blood. "Don't waste time," he said. "Not happening," she snapped. "You're not dying here," he smiled weakly. "Since when? Do I follow ghost orders?" His hand found hers. "My brother said you were worth dying for. Now I know why." She felt his grip weaken. For a moment, the battlefield went silent again. Then Pike's hand went still. Tessa's breathing quickened, but her eyes stayed hard. She closed his eyelids, then stood. "We move," she ordered. No one argued. Cruz carried 2 hostages. Ellington led the rest. They moved through the smoke, shots echoing down every corridor. Tessa walked last, covering every angle, every shadow. Outside, chaos waited. Gunfire traced through the night like lightning. Helicopters roared in the distance, the evac signal. They sprinted through the open courtyard. Cruz shouted. 2 o'clock as bullets chewed the dirt near their feet. Tessa turned, firing 3 rounds. 3 men dropped. Zahir stumbled, nearly falling. Tessa grabbed him by the collar and pushed him toward cover. "Keep running," she yelled. They reached the extraction zone just as the Osprey descended. The rotors kicked up a storm of dust and flame. The pilot shouted over comms. 30 seconds, Tessa loaded the civilians first. "Go, go, go," Ellington yelled, pulling the last one aboard. Then she turned back. Tessa wasn't following. The last thing Tessa saw before turning was Pike's body, still in the courtyard. She ran back through the chaos, bullets whizzing past. Every instinct screamed to leave, but her conscience screamed louder. She reached him, kneeled, and pulled the tags from his neck. A bullet grazed her shoulder, but she didn't stop. She whispered, "You're coming home, Chief?" Then she ran. The Osprey was lifting, rotors screaming. Cruz leaned out, hand extended. "Come on," Tessa jumped, grabbed his wrist, and was pulled inside just as the valley erupted in fire. The explosion below lit the mountains red, swallowing the compound whole. Dusthaven had fallen once, but this time, it burned for the right reasons. Ellington caught her breath. "Everyone's in. We got them all." Tessa didn't reply. She just stared at Pike's tags in her hand, blood dripping onto the metal. Zahir approached quietly. "You saved us again," he said. She shook her head. He did. Her voice cracked but didn't break. The pilot shouted, "ETA 2 minutes to base." Cruz slumped back, exhausted. 17 seconds, he muttered. "You weren't kidding." Tessa gave a faint smile. "Told you." Through the rear door, she watched the valley shrink below smoke curling upward, painting the night in ghostly light. Somewhere down there lay everything she'd lost, and everything she'd just reclaimed. The war wasn't over. But for the first time in years, she wasn't running from the past. She was walking straight back into it. And if you think this was the end, you're wrong. Because the ghost of Dusthaven had only just begun to rise. The Osprey landed at a remote base under a bruised sky. The air smelled of smoke, rain, and jet fuel war's aftertaste. Tessa Calloway stepped out first, boots hitting the wet tarmac like punctuation marks. She didn't look back at the others. Her mind was still in the valley, beside Pike's body and the fire he left behind. Every drop of rain on her face felt like penance. Whitaker waited near the hangar, flanked by 2 officers. He didn't salute. He just nodded once, the way soldiers greet ghosts. "Job's done," he said quietly. Tessa set her rifle on the table between them. "Job's done," she repeated. "But it wasn't clean." Whitaker's eyes softened. "It never is." Ellington joined them, still streaked with dust and sweat. She handed Whitaker the mission report. All 14 hostages accounted for. No civilian losses. Then, softer, we lost Pike. Whitaker's jaw tightened. He knew the odds. Tessa stepped forward. He didn't hesitate. She placed Pike's dog tags in Whitaker's hand. He deserves more than a file. Cruz approached, awkward and subdued for once. He looked at Tessa, guilt in his eyes. If I hadn't... Don't, she cut him off. We all walk into crossfire one way or another. He nodded, swallowing hard. Guess I finally understand what Dusthaven meant. Her gaze lingered. You understand the cost. That's enough. Later, in the medical tent. Zahir sat on a cot, his sister sleeping beside him. He looked up when Tessa entered. You shouldn't have come for us, he said softly. She smiled faintly. I said I would. You saved us twice, he whispered. How do you carry that weight? She hesitated, then said, You just learn how to walk with it. He nodded, tears in his eyes. The children will know your name. No, she said quickly. They'll know yours. Then she turned and left before he could say more. Outside, the rain had stopped, but the clouds hadn't moved. Hours later, the hangar was nearly empty. Tessa sat alone, sharpening the edge of a combat knife out of habit. The sound metal on metal was the only heartbeat she trusted. Whitaker entered quietly, a sealed envelope in hand. Your reinstatement papers, he said. Full clearance restored. She didn't take them. I'm not coming back, she said. That world buried me once. I'm not digging it up again. Whitaker sighed. You think you can just walk away? I already did, she said. Standing. Now I just need to mean it. He started to protest, but she was already walking toward the exit. Pike would have wanted you to stay, he called after her. She didn't turn around. Pike wanted peace. I'll find mine somewhere else. That night, the base slept. Only the floodlights kept watch, humming over wet asphalt. Tessa packed her gear into an old duffel bag. Quiet, efficient, final. She paused at one item, the Osprey coin Pike had given her. It was scratched, tarnished, but still warm from her hand. She slipped it into her pocket. The next morning, she was gone. No goodbyes, no farewell notes, just an empty cot and a name crossed off the roster. The ghost had vanished again. Weeks passed. The world called it a miracle mission. No one ever mentioned who led it. Then, one rainy night in Portland, Tessa clocked into the ER for another double shift. Fluorescent lights, steady chaos. Nothing heroic about it. It was the kind of battlefield she could survive. But just after midnight, the doors burst open. Car crash victim, male, late 30s, unresponsive. A nurse shouted. Tessa moved fast, cutting away the man's jacket to reach the wound. Then she froze. On his chest, an osprey tattoo, slashed through with a blade mark. Her pulse spiked. Get me suction and clamps now. The man's eyes flickered open for a moment. They sent me, he gasped. To warn you, who she demanded. He coughed blood. Blackjack, isn't what you think. Before she could ask more, his monitor flatlined. She pressed her hand to his chest, but the light in his eyes was already gone. The staff took over. Tessa stepped back, hands trembling under blood-soaked gloves. Her gaze stayed fixed on that tattoo. Later, she sat in the empty locker room, rain tapping the window. She pulled out Pike's coin and set it beside the man's dog tags. The metal gleamed under the pale light, two ghosts, side by side. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A woman's voice spoke, calm and cold. Hello, Sable Three. Tessa's throat tightened. Who is this someone who thought you died for good? We were wrong. Tessa's heart slowed. The voice continued. If you want answers about Blackjack, come find me. Then the line went dead. She sat there for a moment, listening to the rain. Then she grabbed her jacket, slipping Pike's coin into the pocket. She looked at her reflection in the metal cabinet's steady eyes. Calm breath. Soldier once more. She turned off the lights, whispering to herself. 17 seconds. That's all I'll need. Then she stepped into the night, the storm waiting to follow. If you're still here, listening, remember this. Some heroes don't get medals. Some just keep walking until the world forgets their names. But when the world calls again, they always answer. If you enjoyed the story, consider sending a super chat to help bring more stories like this. Now, click on the video on the screen to hear another story that's just as powerful and captivating with courage, sacrifice, and a choice that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about duty and justice.